Hi guys, I just wanted to give you a quick video today just to talk a little bit about my scans that I have. So every 3 weeks I go for an MRI with contrast, and so these scans are a little bit different. My old MRIs, I would always have contrast, of course. You know, you get set up, you take off all your clothes, put in that gown, make sure there's no metal on you, go through that whole rigmarole, and then you hop on the table, you go through that little chamber, and you hear the noise clicking. They put the earphones in you, of course. Well, not the earphones. The one I go to out here, they put earplugs in you, so you don't hear that loud noise. Because for anyone who's not familiar with an MRI machine is there's like for magnetic resonance or whatever, but you go through like a little, it's like this big machine, but it's like a tube that you slide through, kind of. And you just lay back there. You gotta stay very still while this clicking and noises go on for you. And how my old MRIs would work, I'd sit there, 20 minutes of clicking, then they'd pull me out and they would inject me with contrast. Contrast just helps illuminate things in your scans, helps us illuminate like there's blood flow, things like that. Can also help kind of detect if there's, any kind of disease tissue or appearing to be. So that's always one of the reasons. But since I had, my brain surgery, of course, radiation tablets, and I had that stroke, I do a different form of MRI. I still do the same MRI, but with like a T1 perfusion, I think it's called. And what they do is it's still an MRI with contrast, but when I lay down, they put an IV in me, and then they have this like big gun that they pull forward that has the perfusion in it. And when you're laying there in the middle of your MRI, they'll be like, okay, the perfusion's coming in now, and then it'll start coming into you, and then the first thing when that not the perfusion, the contrast. The first thing when that contrast goes into you, you get a metal taste in your mouth. That's how you know it's in you. And it's kind of weird to say, but I mean, I've been getting MRIs so much for so long now. Not as much as I'm getting now. Now I'm getting them every 3 weeks. Before, I used to get them, when I first had my surgery in 2015, it was, once I got through the whole thing, it was every 3 months. And then they moved it back to every 6 months. But now I'm back to every 3 weeks, essentially. But yeah, so you slide through that MRI, and so right now, but it's like it looks like, honestly, it looks like a cocking gun, but like it's a lot bigger. And so you lay down and you're in the MRI, and this one, it gets, the contrast goes to you in the middle of you having the scan performed. Now, one thing I will talk about, that this didn't happen on my MRI I had today, but 3 weeks ago, when I went in and they were, going to put in my IV, they didn't have a big enough needle. So this was a little weird because I never dealt with any of this before with like a needle size or anything like that. So I really didn't know what was going on. But it was two younger guys, younger like techs, and they were like, oh, no, it should be fine. And they laid me down the MRI, and they're like, you're going to feel some pressure in your arm, a lot of pressure when we're putting this through. And I was like, pressure? What do you mean? He's like, well, we're going to be pushing this contrast into your body, but you'll feel some pressure in your veins. And I'm like, pressure in my veins? Is that all right? He's like, yeah, you're fine. You're young. You're strong enough. Your veins can handle it. So that wasn't a pleasant experience, that MRI, because it didn't hurt, but you felt it was as a weird feeling, It's like when you go to the dentist and they hit a spot, in your tooth or your gum. It's just like, that wrenching feeling. That's how kind of this was. It wasn't like a pain, like, get off me, but it was a weird feeling. But yeah, so with this MRI, they had the correct needle size. So yeah, I did that scan, and they did the contrast. I go to my oncologist tomorrow to find out the results. So that'll be interesting, and I'll talk to you guys about that when I get on here. And then the one last thing, so tomorrow I also have to do an echocardiogram, or a transthoracic echocardiogram, which I've never had before, which I'm very curious about, because what they do is they look at the inside of your heart. And one thing I was always worried about is, throughout the day I'm on like uppers and downers, like for a little while now, since I first had, the brain cancer and went through that. It was a little bit, I totally forgot my train of thought. My dogs are barking, but uh, okay. So when I had my first surgery, it was just the MRIs, nothing like that. Now, because of everything that's happened and with the stroke, they want to look at the inside of my heart. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. So yeah, so when I first had my brain surgery, there's something called like, they call it like radiation fog or chemo brain. And I had that a lot. So I needed something to help me focus and help me be productive and work. So they prescribed me Adderall. Now, Adderall, it helped, absolutely. I do get a little anxious from it, which I'm not a big fan of, but but I also take like Xanax and everything, because everything I'm going through. So at that time, uh, I would do Adderall, and then I would take like Xanax at night to like mellow out. And I've been worried about uppers and downers. I remember some years back ago, there was a drug called fen-phen. Fen-phen had an upper and a downer in it. So before I had my surgery, of course, I had to go to my PCP to get everything checked out to see if I was good to go to the surgery. And I did have a weird, my blood pressure was off. It was like, I forgot what syndrome, what he said I looked like I had, but I had basically an irregular heartbeat. I never had a regular heartbeat before, so, but since it was right before surgery, they need to send me to a cardiologist. So I did go to a cardiologist, and they looked at my heart, and she said everything, looked fine. I'm good for surgery. And that's when I asked her, but this one was just like an ultrasound. I think that's what it's called, ultrasound. They put like gel on me and like did this thing around, to look at my heart. If anyone has ever been, like with, you say, your a girlfriend or your wife, or anyone you've been, when they going to look at the baby, they do an ultrasound, and then you can see it on the screen. So that's what she did to like my heart area, and she said everything looked fine. So fast forward to post-surgery, I have that stroke. So when I go to the one neurologist, he says that, I want to scan your heart. He said your cholesterol's high. And the only reason my cholesterol was high was because I was on that keto diet, and I switched everything completely. So yeah, I was just eating like bacon, meats, and every morning I have this manwich sandwich, which is super good, but it was like because I was keto, there's no sugar, no carbs. So it had like egg for the bun, and then it had like sausage and egg, sausage and cheese, but it had like 275 milligrams of cholesterol. So when I saw that, I realized, okay, well, that's the reason. So I took that away, but they still want that scan to check out the inside of my heart. So I'm curious to see if there is any issues with my heart, from really, quite a number of years of, using those uppers and downers throughout the day, or using, like my trazodone to go to sleep at night, because I was never a good sleeper. When I was a kid, I suffered from major insomnia. I remember when I was finally able to read, I was so happy, because I didn't have to lay in bed just, staring at the wall all night, and I would just read. That's, I got into the habit of, for most of my life, reading a book a week. And of course, now I don't have the time. I'd love to, but, that's on the cards. But so yeah, so I take a pill of sleep as well. So I'm curious. And so tomorrow, after my oncologist to review my MRI results, I'm going for a transthoracic echocardiogram. So I'm curious to see what that brings. I'm hoping the results are good, and everything's fine. But when I forget, this is one thing I was mentioning, when I did see that cardiologist right before my brain surgery, the cardiologist, I asked her about, that drug fen-phen, and I told her, what I'm a little bit concerned about, if that's the reason my heart's irregular. And she said that wasn't the reason like fen was pulled off the market really wasn't because there was an upper and downer in it. There was some other component. Don't really call exactly what she said, and I don't want to, quote something that I don't remember correctly. But yeah, she said it was fine. So we'll see. I'll see what that inside of my that heart exam looks like. So I'll be curious to look and see what is going on there. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I want to just keep this video. Don't want to go too long. I'm already at like 10.5 minutes. But all right, thank you guys. I'll be back on. I'll do a video tomorrow as well to tell you guys about my scan that I had and the results that the doctor asked for me. All right, thank you all, and keep the fight. Bye-bye, guys.